We're joined by two distinguished congressmen, Guy Reschenthaler of Pennsylvania, who serves on the Judicial and Foreign Affairs Committee, also joined by Ohio Congressman Bill Johnson. He serves on the Energy and Commerce and Budget Committees. Hey, gents, thanks for being there.
Thank you for having us.
All right, Mr. Reschenthaler, we'll go with you first. Do you trust the Senate to do a thorough investigation into the malfeasance of the Obama Justice Department and Crossfire Hurricane, or do you think it will just take the GOP Congress forever to get this job done, and maybe that's the whole idea, to sweep it under the rug, as so many establishment Republicans have wanted to do these last 3 years?
No, I trust my colleagues in the Senate to do the right thing and investigate and look into this thoroughly. I want to know who knew what and when they knew it. I think that we need to ask questions of, did President Obama and did Vice President Biden know that James Comey and what I call the merry band of never-Trumpers at the top echelon of the FBI, if the president and vice president at the time knew that they were going on these fishing expeditions, if they knew that they didn't give defensive briefings to President Trump, then candidate Trump and the Trump organization. And I want to know just how much was known when the top echelon of the FBI went in to talk to Michael Flynn on a fishing expedition, to what they said, either catch him in a lie, to prosecute him, or to get him fired. We need these questions answered, and I think my colleagues in the Senate are going to get to the truth of this matter.
I hope so, because as you know, Lindsey Graham's position is he doesn't want to talk to Obama. He doesn't want to talk to VP Biden, and I think they're critical to understanding what happened here. Congressman Johnson, let's go to you. We have been saying, I think for about 2 weeks now, that Emmett Sullivan needs to be impeached. He is the judge who looks at a case that says, well, the Department of Justice says we want to drop the case. Of course, the Flynn folks want to drop the case. Nope, there's no case here, really, but Emmett Sullivan is determined to make sure that Mr. Flynn gets punished somehow, and this is so out of the norm. Would you explain, you put in a resolution to get this man impeached. I believe he richly deserves it, sir. Would you explain?
Absolutely. You know, one of the most important responsibilities that Congress has is the oversight, the checks and balances between the other two branches of government, the executive branch and the judiciary. We have a responsibility to hold federal judges accountable when they overstep their authority. And clearly, Judge Sullivan has done that in this case. It's a very simple matter. Is he guilty of misconduct in refusing to dismiss these charges after the prosecutors have said we don't have a case? I think he is, but we'll let the Judiciary Committee determine that. Now, I don't hold out any hopes that Nancy Pelosi and Jerry Nadler are going to take this measure up. But I'm hoping to keep this issue alive in the minds of the American people, just to show how reckless some of these political activist federal judges are.
Well, and maybe once the Republicans take over control of the House of Representatives after this year's election, maybe some action could get done on this. And, you know, I've also suggested, Congressman Johnson, just really quickly, that, as you know, Mr. Sullivan brought in a judge who had just written an op-ed against Mr. Flynn in a major newspaper, because, in my opinion, maybe Mr. Sullivan, the rigors of the job have gotten to him. He's not able to do the job of being on a federal bench, and maybe we should relieve him because he's apparently no longer capable of doing his job. What do you think about that?
Well, I can tell you that the Ninth Circuit, I believe it's the Ninth Circuit, the D.C. Circuit, the appellate court, I think they may very well feel the same way, because they've given him 10 days to rule on General Flynn's lawyer's petition to dismiss this case. I think they know that he is standing on very, very thin ice, and they're giving him a soft landing spot. My recommendation to Judge Sullivan, you better take it, because I'm not going to put this down until justice is served.
Yeah, well, I hope some folks continue to watch what he's doing. Congressman Reschenthaler, I want to get back to you, because you have sounded the alarm about what's happening in the do-nothing House of Representatives. You were talking to our friends over at Breitbart, and you said that Nancy Pelosi is actively blocking an investigation into the origins of the China virus and also the previous administration's funding of the controversial Wuhan lab. Tell the folks what's going on.
Yeah, so I have a resolution, and Nancy Pelosi has not run it. And that resolution asks for two things. It says, one, we want an investigation from an international panel to investigate the World Health Organization and how they either were grossly negligent in handling this pandemic, or worse, how they worked hand in glove with the Chinese Communist Party to cover it up. Also, I want to make sure that Dr. Tedros of the World Health Organization resigns before we give more funding to the World Health Organization. Dr. Tedros, I think, worked hand in glove with the Chinese Communist Party, or he was grossly negligent. He's got a record and a past of covering up pandemics. He did it in Ethiopia with a cholera outbreak, and I think there's evidence to suggest that he did the same with the virus that came from China. But Nancy Pelosi has stated that this is a distraction, that when Republicans talk about China and the origin of this virus, it's a distraction. This is not a distraction. We want to get to the truth of what happened. And I have a letter to Secretary Esper. I'm looking into how much money the DOD sent to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, also looking into the Department of Homeland Security. We know the NIH sent money to the Institute of Virology in Wuhan to study biological weapons of mass destruction. So I think that we should have transparency provided from the Chinese Communist Party, and the Democrats should support us in trying to get these answers rather than just trying to move on. These are answers that need to be, these are questions that need answered, and we need to continue to look into this.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, hell, not the China, forget the Chinese. What about the Democrats? This is the nature of my final question to you both, and I've only got 30 seconds for each of you. Congressman Reschenthaler, you'll go first. Are you distressed in any way that not one Democrat has come out and publicly said we should hold China accountable for what they have done for my constituents who are either sick, dying, or dead? I want to avenge my constituents who have passed away. All these Democrats are, all they're doing right now is covering for the communist Chinese. And do you plan on making this an issue come November?
Oh, we're making it an issue. I'm making it an issue, and so are all the Republicans in the House. The bottom line is this. The Democrats hate this president. They hate him so much that they would rather side with the Chinese Communist Party than hold China accountable and work together with Republicans and bring truth and shed light on what happened with China. That's the bottom line.